don't sign him. There is no reason to sign Carlos Soler. However, according to reports, that's exactly what West Ham United are trying to do. We've already opened negotiations with PSG over the permanent transfer of Carlos Soler. Now, a lot of my opinion, I feel quite strongly about this, but a lot of it depends on the accuracy of information given out by Fabrizio Romano rather than West Ham. Because when we signed him at the end of August, West Ham's article just said, we've signed Carlos Soler on loan from PSG, blah, de blah. Simple as that. However, Fabrizio Romano went one further and claimed that there is an option to buy him there for 20 million euros, so 18 million quid. And Romano's usually very accurate with transfer news in general, but when it comes to West Ham specifically, I believe he's got a really good source in Tim Steidten. I believe that's his source when it comes to West Ham news. And I think that's been, the evidence of that is when we signed certain players, Fabrizio Romano has that photo, and he's the only one with this photo of Steidten on a jet with the new signing and his agent. So he clearly knows someone. And I strongly believe it's Tim Steidten. And when Tim Steidten came to West Ham, Fabrizio Romano was the one that named Tim Steidten, first of all. And then the West Ham, sort of in the nose and journalists said, whoa, it's not done yet. And Fabrizio Romano stuck to his gun and said, it is done. It's just not been announced. And Tim Steidten came in. So I believe Fabrizio Romano's got a good source. So I'm inclined to believe Romano is correct by saying that we've got an option to buy in the Carlos Soler deal. And a lot of my opinion weighs heavily on that information being accurate. And I love it. I love an option to buy in a loan deal. Not so keen on an obligation to buy, because if things go wrong, you've got to buy them anyway. And, Todibo, there's an obligation there. We've got to sign him for 40 million euro. If we stay up, regardless of his performances, regardless of whether we want him or not, we have to pay 40 million euro for him in the summer. So obligations to buy in the loans, not so keen on. Options to buy, absolutely love them. Gives you that security. It works out. You can buy them at a fee you've already agreed. Doesn't work out, you send them back, you don't have to buy them. It is perfect. When we're loaning players out, though, I'm the other way around. Assuming it's a first-team player that we don't want, like when we're loaning out like Felipe Anderson and Nikola Vlasic, those sorts of deals, I prefer the obligation. You have to buy them for this price in a year's time. Whereas the option to buy makes me a bit uneasy, because if it doesn't work out, like Felipe Anderson going to Porto, for example, they send you back, you're stuck with a player and his market value has decreased since you went out on loan. Bad for business. But anyway, in regards to Carlos Soler, so reports are we're trying to sign him in the January transfer window, and I just don't see one good reason. Not one good reason. The only small possible reason, this is a possible one, we don't know yet, is that it's to fend off any potential interest in him from other clubs in the summer. Now, if that option to buy is there, then we don't really have much to worry about, because the fee's already agreed. We don't have to negotiate with PSG. The hard part is already done. And I think it's a fair enough fee, 18 million quid for somebody of his ability and that age, playing in the Premier League. I think that's a fair fee. But not many clubs are going to want him. Not many clubs are going to be able to afford him at that £18 million. And then there's the last part, which is the most expensive part, is his wages. He's on over 200 grand a week at PSG. Now, obviously, we're not going to pay him that, and he's going to have to take a huge wage cut, just like Alphonse Areola did when he joined from PSG. But even if you then still give him 100 grand a week or something, in line with what the rest of our players are paid, there's not that many clubs in the world of football can afford this. So when you take a list of the clubs that could afford Carlos Soler, who actually wants him, I'm going to say there's nobody. I'm going to say that it's a one-horse race for West Ham. But in order to get that competition, you're going to need him to perform really well in the second half of the season. And that's a bit of a risk, because we don't know if he will. Now, the first half of the season so far, I was a bit confused as to why we had him. He got brought in, and people that knew him said, hey, he's a good central midfielder, possibly number 10. We've seen him on the left more than often. I didn't really see him centrally. It was a bit confusing as to why we had him. But in the last few games, in the last few weeks, I've been quite impressed by him, actually. I think he's performing really well. I think he's getting better and better. I get it now. I get why we've signed him. And we missed him against Brighton. He's become one of the sort of first names on the team sheet recently, as far as I'm concerned. So it's not his performances. I'm hoping that he has a really good second half of the season and that we want to buy him in the summer. But I don't think he's done enough so far to warrant spending 20 million quid on him, or nearly 20 million quid on him in a January transfer window. I think West Ham just need to calm down, and I'm inclined to not believe these reports because I don't want it to be true, I guess, but it just doesn't make sense. I just cannot think of one good reason as to why this would be true and why we want this to be true, signing Carlos Soler in January transfer window. And it's not the loan quota. I know that some people might say, well, it's so we can bring someone else on loan. We can do that anyway. The loan quota, the 2 players on loan at any time, applies to domestic loans. We haven't got any at the minute. We've got Todibo on loan and we've got Carlos Soler on loan. We can still loan in, say, Evan Ferguson and Lindelof of Man United. I'm not saying I want Lindelof of Man U. I don't know why. Just a name that came to my head that's available on loan in January transfer window. And we can maybe do with a centre-back. So we could still go loan those 2 players if we wanted to. Soler and Todibo do not impact that quota. We're fine. So we can still bring in other people. And even if it was to free up loan spaces, which it's not, but even if it was, surely you would do the Todibo one because we have to buy him for €40 million. So you'd be better off just bringing that one forward, and rather than spending 20 million that you might not want to spend in the summer. Even PSR, this doesn't even benefit us from a PSR perspective on the assumption we sign Carlos Soler anyway. The accountancy period is the same because we'd have to trigger that option to buy before the end of June, which is when the accountancy period is for PSR figures. So that there's not even a benefit there. I just can't think of one. I genuinely cannot think of one. I can think of more reasons to not do it. You know, he might not have a good second half of the season. He might get injured. You just never know. And then lastly, there's the situation regarding Lopetegui. I mean, there's a potential situation regarding Tim Steidten at the minute. A lot of rumours that the club aren't too impressed with him. But putting that to aside for a second and just going with Lopetegui, can we hand on heart, and I mean the club here, not just me and you, say that this guy will be here next season? I think the answer is definitely not at the moment. They might hope he is. They might hope that he has a really good second half of the season, turns things round, gets us into the top half of football, top half table, playing better football. And I hope that happens. That would be the best thing for West Ham, that bucks his ideas up and we start doing good. I want him to succeed, because if he succeeds, it means West Ham are doing well. Generally, it would mean that I'm enjoying it. But do we have confidence in that? Absolutely not. I think the confidence has to be that it will not be happening. So how do you plan? How do you plan? Well, this is where the club having an identity comes into play. And this is a video, I referred to this when we did the transfer video the other day, when we were linked to Evan Ferguson and Mohamed Kudus possibly going. We should be pretty calm about changes in this squad regardless of the head coach, because that's what the whole infrastructure should be about now, that we can make changes and not worry about the guy in charge. That shouldn't matter anymore. It did matter before when we had an old school manager in charge. He was the one saying yes or no. He was the one getting final say on transfers. So when you were spending money, his future was something you had to take into consideration. But it shouldn't be that way anymore. But you can only say that if you strongly believe that we've got the identity in place and that the next guy, if there is one, is going to come in and be able to work with Lopetegui's squad. And I can't say yes to that. It feels a little bit uncertain at the minute that if we were to move away from Lopetegui, the next guy, is he going to be Lopetegui the second, a better version of Lopetegui? Because that's ideally what the whole thing would be with the club identity. But my answer would be no. I wouldn't be surprised if we went for someone completely different one way or another. And it's a bit of a mess, really, because it makes it difficult to plan. And I think Carlos Soler is going to be a victim of the uncertainty of Lopetegui. If Lopetegui is performing really well right now, I'd say, yeah, okay, fine, get Soler now, because he's a key part of Lopetegui's plans. But he's not performing very well. I've got more confidence that Carlos Soler will be at West Ham next season than Lopetegui, even though currently one of their contracts expires in June, another one expires in June 2026. And it's a difficult situation, really. So how do you plan with the squad? Well, I think you've got to crack on as if you've got to ignore who the head coach is to some extent. You take into consideration the way that we want to play as a football club, but that requires identity. And I will be doing a video about this in the new year once I'm home and I can sit down and do it. Could it be a longer video, more structured one, rather than sitting in an uncomfy blue chair trying to avoid the sunlight? But with Carlos Soler, it feels like we're almost rushing to make a decision when there isn't one to be made. We can just wait until the end of the season, see how he gets on in the second half. On the assumption what Fabrizio Romano said is true, and I hope it is. It feels good. It feels like a good thing to have in place. But even if it's not, even if we don't have that option to buy, my opinion would remain the same, which is just chill. Let's just see how he gets on in the second half. There is no need to be bringing this forward. We've got a deal in place. Leave it be. Hopefully he smashes the second half of the season. We can't wait to buy him at the end of the season. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But he's had a handful of good games. That's all he's had, a handful of good games. I was trying to think, has he even been man of the match yet? Possibly Newcastle away. I may have given him my man of the match then. I read a lot of people's comments. I've been reading everyone's comments in the last week. I just can't reply because for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi doesn't like YouTube comments. I don't know, you click on it, it just says not allowed to do that. So I can read them, but I can't reply to people. And you get no signal in this place, so I can't come off the Wi-Fi. I'm stuck, really. There you go, so that's the reports. Carlos Soler, maybe we're going to sign him in January transfer window. I hope it's not true. But it doesn't mean I don't want to sign him at all. Just, I don't know yet. I want more evidence. Anyway, and that's it from West Ham. A little update now. So if you only want the West Ham stuff, now off you pop. Before you do, drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Ham's Chat. But a little update. Today is our last day in this place. We're going home tonight. 8 o'clock tonight is when she's due to get her last antibiotics for meningitis. So hopefully tonight, Christmas Eve night, we will get home. We've been in here. Well, Grace was born over 2 weeks ago now, and we were here the Saturday before that. So what's that? 18 days we've been in hospital for now. So it's been a bit of a while. Looking forward to getting out of here, not going to lie, and getting home. But I'm counting down the hours. We've got a handful of hours left in this hospital, and then she's got one more dose of antibiotics to go for meningitis. And then we can get out of here. Everything's done. The discharge paperwork's done. The nurses have been amazing. They've done all they can. So as soon as she's got that, we can foxtrot Oscar pretty quickly. If you enjoy Christmas, hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow. If you're not so keen on it, join us. We will be live. We're live on Christmas Day. We've done it for years now. Myself and Charlie have done it for years because we believe that we want you to watch us every single day of the year. We put content on. We're like, please watch our videos. I don't think you can down tools on Christmas Day. You can't just do it for 364 days. You've got to do it for all of them. So Christmas Day, we are live for an hour. Got a couple of giveaways. Don't know exactly what, but we will be giving away a signed Julian Dix captain's armband. That will be one of the giveaways tomorrow. We think it will be kicking off at 5 o'clock, but you've got to be a little bit flexible with us given it's Christmas Day and we've still got families and stuff. You know, we're ditching our families for an hour to go sit and do a live video, but we enjoy it. We look forward to it. It's a good laugh. So if you're kicking around tomorrow at 5 o'clock, come join us. I'll put up a post on YouTube tomorrow, community post confirming the time. But at the minute, we've penciled in 5 p.m. and the special guest is Charlie. I've not done a video with Charlie since the summer. And people always say, he was at my wedding last month, right? So I'm looking forward to it. So if you fancy joining myself and Charlie for a little bit of Christmas Day chaos, then you're more than welcome tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. Carlos Soler, there's just no need to do it now. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to Ham's Chat. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.